I'm Cole.
I'm Eli.
We're from the Mountaineer. We're here to talk about Bones and All by Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
So, what was your thoughts on this picture?
Cannibalism, and it was yucky.
Yeah, it's
not very vegan friendly.
Well, this I can see how this film can make someone want to turn vegan.
Oh yeah, this is vegan propaganda.
Yeah, low key. This is a very solid picture that Luca Guadagnino has made, and you could tell it was made by a lot of passion and a lot of love. Mm-hmm. You can tell how the way it looks, how the way it sounds, how it's acted.
Yeah. It was very delicately handled.
Of course. This is a film in every sense of the word.
No, that hairstyles. It feels like a movie.
You said a movie. I said film, but
okay.
Yeah, this film. It's not about cannibalism. I mean, like when the cannibalism occurs on the screen, it's cannibalism in its most visceral, carnal, and raw form. Mm-hmm. But at the center, it's these two young people discovering who they are, coming of age, blossom in love, great fiery chemistry between Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet. I could not see two other actors being in these roles.
Yeah, definitely. The casting was phenomenal on all parts, I think so. Really overall, I just think it's like a very weirdly wholesome, cute, coming-of-age teen romance between two young souls with just a little sprinkle of cannibalism and murder.
Yeah. And I feel like this is one of the best coming-of-age stories I've seen in a while. When you think of coming-of-age now, you just think some kid in high school.
Love Simon.
Like he loses friends and then he gets his old friends back. He doesn't really transform, but the character in this movie, the protagonist, Marin, played gratefully by Taylor Russell, she starts at point A and then at the end she's at point B. Yeah.
I feel like with what you were saying, a lot of the coming age things I see now are like, they're not so much internal work. I feel like the genre was probably based on, it's not like them maturing, them doing anything. It's like main guy gets girlfriend and goes to college. Like, okay. But I feel like for this film, you can really, it's not in your face, which I love. Like, nothing's in your face in this film except the cannibalism, and that's done intentionally. But, you really see her with every single scene grow to become from, like, a lost girl to, like, a mature and fulfilled woman.
It's funny you mentioned Lost Girl because that's one of the track's names on the score.
Oh yeah, you're obsessed with that one.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, which is one of the greatest elements of the film, and it's the score, how the way they edit into the film is so masterfully handled. You could tell when it's a teenage romance, and then when the horror happens, the score changes the complete vibe and atmosphere. It's very masterfully well done.
Yeah, I love how the soundtrack, instead of just being there to fill the silence, it steers the story. It steers the scene.
And it doesn't overpower it. It's just there. It's not like big blasting trumpets and violins.
I feel like instead of the soundtrack being some sort of decoration, it really is an anchor.
It's a character.
Direction. Yeah. I feel like a wonderful example of that was in the scene with the carnival scene.
Of course.
They had the cute, as well as the camera work, they had like the cute dreamy long shots with dreamy playful music. And it was like
Joy Division.
Yeah, it was Martin and Lee like holding hands and kissing on the carousel, and then it all shifts as like the camera work gets more intimate and blurry and darker, and the soundtrack gets quieter and more sinister, intense, and that's inevitably when Lee.
Yeah. There's no spoilers there, but yeah, when he sees his potential victim, it's the whole vibe really changes. It's a perfect blend of romance and horror. The film has marketed itself as a romance horror film, which is a perfect way to describe it. But let's not forget, this is definitely more of a romance than a horror film. There's only 4 scenes of like cannibalism. That's very, but when it happens, it happens.
I would argue it's not a horror at all. I don't.
Really?
I don't. It has gross and like, you know,
very visceral moments.
Carnally scary, like, you know, scenes. But it's not. I don't think it's a horror. It doesn't. It didn't make me scared. It was just gross.
Yeah, but you care about these characters.
But they were never really in danger.
So when the magnitude happens, like they might be in danger. I was kind of on the edge of my seat at some moments in this picture.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I want to give props to the film for. When I heard this film, when it was first got announced, when I heard the synopsis of it, cannibal romance. I mean, it's a mouthful. So I was kind of worried that they were gonna make cannibalism kind of like a quirk, like, oh, they don't understand us, they would never get us. But they make cannibalism up to be this really gross, bleak, and disgusting disease that unfortunately all these characters have been born with and can't wash themselves away from. And there's a great scene where Marin, played by Taylor Russell, meets this fellow cannibal, and she finds out that he's a cannibal by choice. And she's so annoyed and so angered and disgusted by it that she can't handle it because she wants to be cleansed from this terrible thing she's been dealing with since the moment she was born. So I thought that was very well handled in the picture.
Yeah, I feel like when I first saw the trailer, I was like, ooh, what the heck? Like, I thought it was for a certain subsection of people. That was not me at all. But yeah, it turned out to be something so much more deep. And you were talking about how, like, you know, it's handled as, well, firstly, not a choice. But it's less handled like this sort of impulse rather than a part of, it's more handled as like a part of who they are.
It's in the moment.
Yeah.
It just clicks.
Yeah, I feel like it is carried with them everywhere rather than being like how they would usually handle like people with it being like impulse, compulsion, and that sort of goes with how like you were saying that it's like a disease, and it's also set in the early to mid 80s.
I think it takes place. They never say, which I'm
pretty sure it's the early to mid 80s.
Well, it says on her birth certificate that she's born in 1970 and she's 18 in the film, so it's like 1988. Yeah. So yeah, like you're saying, bring up the age. It could be a metaphor for potentially. You know, a lot of people are suggesting the AIDS crisis, but Luca Guadagnino has mentions like it's like open ended with his films. Like for some people, it could be the AIDS crisis. For other people, it just could be like being an outsider in society, or addiction, or sexuality, or abuse. That's one thing I really like to give this film credit for, is that it doesn't force its stances on you. It's just, you could take it whatever way you want to take it, really.
Yeah, I love how the film, like, I feel like this is one of those pieces of media where you can't really consume it wrong.
No. Like, there's no wrong or right answer with this film.
Yeah. Which I really
if you hate this movie, you hate the movie. If you love the movie, you love the movie.
Yeah. And also,
I get it.
It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah, I get it if you love it, and I also get how you would hate it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would recommend this if you are queasy.
Yeah. Don't eat a full-on like steak meal before seeing this film.
Or any meat.
Yeah, imagine you're that one guy who gets like all the pretzels and nachos and hot dogs before going to the movies.
Like, hot dog
and then go and watch Bones and all. But yeah, what was it gonna also talk about? My brain's blanking here, and we're kind of running out of time. Because Matt's camera wasn't working. Thanks a lot.
This
Matt.
is round 3.
Round 3. What else do you have to say about this movie?
It's a really good watch if you're into artsy films. If you've seen Luca Guadagnino, like Call Me by Your Name,
or
it's definitely that-esque.
His Suspiria remake, you could definitely tell that this is the director of the Suspiria remake.
If you're a fan of those movies, I would definitely recommend this. Not an easy watch. Don't eat too much before watching it.
The thing I was going to mention, it's one of the few like films and pieces of media that I've seen take place in the 80s, like handled really well. Like,
the setting is phenomenal.
It's not in your face. So I heard like, coming of age horror film takes place in the 80s. Here we go again. We got Stranger Things. And yeah, the 80s are cool and stuff, but those mediums, they're so in your face. Like, here's neon colors. Here's kids riding bikes. Here's 80s music, nonstop. They say like 80 different references in one sentence, but these are just people living in a certain decade. You could, like, Ronald Reagan comes on the radio, like, once. The clothes are slightly different, and there's only...
like a chia pet in the background.
Yeah, chia pet, that's it. There's, like, only, like, 3 solid songs on the background, which are Kiss, New Order, and Joy Division. It's not, like... Which are great, solid choices, but it's not, like, non-stop. It doesn't feel like a music video.
Yeah, I read about it in my article. It's so subtle that it creeps into your mind. Like, I didn't even consciously be like, this is in the 80s until, like, the end. And then I walked out and then I checked my phone and I was like, oh, darn.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. Yeah, it was really done phenomenally. It's not in your face at all. They have, like, minimal references. And,
like, Timothy Chalamet wears, like, a Thundercats t-shirt.
yeah, and it does a really good job. I feel like it does a really good job with outsider characters like Lee's sister. Like, with just the way characters... not so much speak, but like the way they are is very indicative of the 80s, like her being, you know.
Kind of, yeah, she does use a homophobic slur. And even her style, yeah, it's clearly 80s, but it's not like, she's wearing like a Cyndi Lauper shirt and like a bunch of like those 80s bracelets.
Yeah, it's not like
but it's not like head to
like
toe. She's like freaking 80s, you know, she's just a teenage girl in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So this film was great. I found it to be a very solid and well done feature film. So if you had to give this movie a grade, what would it be?
Like a out of 10 or like a letter grade?
Let's give it like a grade.
A letter grade? Either a B plus or an A minus.
I'm with you there. There's some like pacing issues and it does get kind of excessive at some points. But overall, this is a pretty solid picture.
Yeah.
And would you recommend this film to your grandparents?
Oh, absolutely not, bro.
Would you, Matt?
I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But would you recommend?
Probably not. I don't think I should have. No.
Definitely. Okay, see you guys later.